What's up, everyone? Normal Christians Podcast. My name is Bo. As always, I reserve the right to get smarter. Hope you've been having a good week, because today I want to talk about something that I ran across from an article in INC. And the title was "Why Investing in Experiences Rather Than Things is Good for Your Business." Now, I'm not going to be talking about things from a business perspective, even though that makes sense that INC would talk about that in regards to business. But the reason this headline caught my attention is not only because of the implications it has for businesses. I'm kind of a business nerd, if that makes sense. I really enjoy different topics in regard to business and business culture. I think that stems from my business management undergrad degree. But this headline grabbed my attention because even just reading it, investing in experiences rather than things, I already agree with that full-heartedly. That is a big part of my view of how we should approach life in many different ways. So I was very intrigued of what this author, Levi King, had to say in this article. Very short article, and the subtitle was "Put Down Your Phone and Start Living." Another bit of good advice, certainly. And he started out the article talking a little bit about his childhood. Didn't come from money, so he says, "Money was never all that important to me until I began making a lot of it and had to figure out how to spend it. Should I take a trip to Hawaii with my wife Rachel and our 6 amazing daughters, or buy that new Tesla I've had my eye on? A solo adventure in Australia where I can regroup and recharge and catch up on my reading, or a bigger and better TV? Time and time again, experiences have proven far more valuable than things." Loving this article so far. Again, 100% in agreement with it. And now with the rest of the article, he gets into 2 different lessons he's learned and how he applies it to business, but we don't have to go with the business realm. But I do think these 2 are important. Listen to them. The first, at first he talks about we're fueled by our emotions. The single biggest factor determining how long you retain a memory is the strength of the emotions surrounding it. Ask yourself how much emotion you derive from physical possessions. I don't mean temporary excitement, like the high of obtaining the latest smartphone, which peaks when you buy it and fades within a week. This is because merely physical possessions are subject to the law of diminishing returns. Experiences, on the other hand, age like wine. Again, full agreement with it. And I think the important lesson he brings out about our emotions is important. A little bit of a background why it sticks. But that last little bit right there that I'm choosing to read. Experiences, on the other hand, age like fine wine. Truly, I believe is a great statement and a true statement. I have bought a lot of things over the years, and I do not tell people very many stories about those things. I just don't. It just doesn't happen. But I can remember the details. I could tell the stories of so many of my trips, of so many of the experiences that I've had the ability to be on, and the things that I've been able to do. And if you don't know me, I love to travel. It's a huge part of who I am. As a matter of fact, as I'm recording this, in a few weeks, I'll be heading to South America. I'll be going to Colombia, Bogota. I'll be going to Peru, and that being Lima and Cusco. Going to go up to Machu Picchu. And then I'm going to go to Brazil. I'm going to go to Rio and Sao Paulo, all in the same trip. And then when I get back from that, I'll be back for a few days, assuming I'm able to get back in the country with all the COVID nonsense and hopefully not test positive with that. Oh, and by the way, I don't say COVID nonsense and that it's not a real thing. Of course, I don't mean that. I just mean there's so many laws and restrictions and this and that with all these different countries with COVID. So it makes it difficult. But once I get back, I'll be a few days here, get some work done, and then I'll actually go to Alaska for a few days to try to see the Northern Lights, which is on the short list of my actual travel bucket list. So I just mentioned that to say, man, travel and experiencing new things and going to new places And all of that is so, so, so important to me. It's something I've always tried to do. So I completely agree in the sense that, look, I bought a lot of things. I still buy a lot of things. I have a soft spot in my heart for kind of techie stuff. Another self-admission that I'm pretty much a nerd. But I do like my techie stuff. I like the new tech. And as a matter of fact, in front of me is one of the new iPads that has the M1 chip. And that may mean nothing to anybody. But I just had to jump on it with how crazy this chip is and what it does. So again, just reaffirming a little bit of my nerdiness when it comes to tech stuff. So I'll buy these things, and I love a good deal. So sometimes I'll buy things I don't want because I feel like I'm getting a great deal on it. All that sort of stuff. So I make those purchases, but the stories surrounding them fade off very quickly over time. Now, there might be a funny story with how I got my TV, let's say, that involved a buddy of mine. That'll stick around, but it's not about the TV. It was about the experience of getting the TV that makes it the story. And certainly with my travels, I'm telling people all the time my travel stories and kind of the funny things that happened or the frustrating things or how I got here and how I was able to do that. Truly, truly experiences, as the author says, age like fine wine. That's the things we remember. But that's just the first kind of lesson. The second one was this: emotional fuel can propel businesses to greater heights. And he says, my company began in one of the saddest offices imaginable. Small, drab, and appallingly furnished, it seemed more appropriate for an art film about existential angst than the birthplace of what we hoped would be a revolution for small businesses in America. It didn't matter. We used the money we saved on rent to acquire talent. I'll never forget those days, how the energy, humor, and dedication of my new colleagues turned a dismal environment into one of the awesomest places on earth. If you hope to build a business sturdy enough to weather any challenge, lay a strong foundation by prioritizing experiences over things. If budgetary constraints force you to choose between providing free lunch or fancy desks, go with the former. What are people more likely to remember when they're old and gray? Will they reminisce fondly about the amazing desks they once had, or the complimentary meals that allowed them to interact joyfully with interesting colleagues on a daily basis? The customers whose lives they've changed for the better. The problems they worked creatively to solve, the leaders who challenged and inspired them. This is the stuff that lasting memories are made of. Strive to create an environment in which a spirit of teamwork unifies and motivates your office. Orchestrate opportunities for meaningful experiences, and that brief time you came together to change the world for the better will find a permanent place in your heart. So that was all of his second part. Didn't really cut that down because there was a few things that I really liked within that second part. Really, as he begins to highlight, specifically in the context of building a business, look, you can have the worst building, you can have the crappiest chairs, terrible desk, all of that. But if you have the people and you're out there working together, doing things and making those memories, having those experiences. He talks about providing lunches to be able to sit around, chat, and get to know each other over better desks. Man, that is what's going to take hold. That is what's going to take that permanent place in the heart, as he says. And what I really liked, because this is truly one of the things that has always stuck with me, he says, what are people more likely to remember when they're old and gray? Will they reminisce fondly about those desks or the joyful interactions with their colleagues on a daily basis, that sort of thing? And that old and gray part kind of leads me to how I've arrived at where I truly view experiences and memories so highly. And this isn't new stuff. I know there's a lot of people who say these sort of things. But are we actually taking advantage of it? Because this brings me back to my dad. Years and years ago, I was blessed to come from a good family, a good middle class family, if you will, and we were fine. Thankfully, my dad worked hard. My mom also worked. And they were able to provide, and as kids, we weren't lacking anything. And we'd get our allowances, or we would work a little bit, get some money. And what I would usually do is I would just spend it on things. I remember one time I bought a bunch of DVDs, and I was a lot younger, and my dad just kind of pulled me aside and he said, "Son, what are you doing spending all this money on these DVDs? What are you going to do? You're going to watch them? Okay. Then what? Watch them again? Okay. But then sooner or later, you're not going to watch them anymore." By the way, now looking at the whole streaming thing, it certainly was the truth. A lot of the DVDs I had, you could just find them streaming pretty much at any time. But his point was simple. Like, look, stop spending your money on things. They're going to break, or you're going to find something better. Instead, go make memories. And the whole point was simple. Again, when people are old and gray, what do they remember? Now, as a pastor, I've been with dying people. I've been around dying people. I've been around families as their loved one is dying. Nobody's talking about the third TV that individual had. No one, in my experience, is talking about the car that's outside. What people are talking about is the memories they were able to make. Or the person on their deathbed is reminiscing about the good times he or she had with the family. And so what is really important? In times like that, it's the memories. At times like that, it's the experiences that you're recalling that you were able to do with those you love, or if it's by yourself, just the experiences that you have, those memories. That's truly what is important. All of us only have so much time on this earth. So why would we waste our ability to go experience new things and make more memories? Why would we waste our resources that could help us do that on just stuff, right? And I think that's such a big thing that we see in America. Look, we're such an affluent nation. But I look around, and especially whenever I talk about travel, and people say, "Well, I could never travel like you do, Bo. I don't have the money," and all that. Now, I won't get into it this episode, but I do a lot with credit card points and rewards to help offset pretty much all my travel costs. So that's why I'm able to do what I do. I'm not going to get into that here. But also, that person talking, you could probably look around at a lot of the stuff they buy and you think, well, okay, maybe just reprioritize. Maybe instead of getting that new vehicle or that new thing or all this that you don't need, maybe get something a little bit that's not as nice, or something not as new if you're talking about a car, maybe a used car, even though in this current market, used cars are just as expensive as new cars pretty much. But take a step back in different areas to save and prioritize your experiences. Prioritize ways to make memories with your friends, with your family members, with the one you love or those that you love, because that is what you will hold on to. That is what will come up in conversations when you're together. I know with some of my friends that I've had since junior high, it's funny whenever we get together and their spouses are around, and they've heard some of our stories so many times, but we just keep bringing them up and talking and laughing. Why? It's just what we do. It's just such a fun time to go down memory lane and retell the stories and laugh until you cry, or people are still making excuses for why they did this or that didn't happen. It's all part of the fun. It's what makes it so much fun and so great. But I think too often we trade in the chance to experience new things, do new things, take challenges. I didn't even get into that, but part of memories and experiences is challenging ourselves, getting out of our comfort zone, and then challenging ourselves in different areas, whether it's to run a 5K or to climb this sort of thing or to do this or that. It doesn't always have to be physical, but challenging ourselves in some way, and the memories and the experiences that come out of that. I just think that we trade all of that for a lot of times comfort, a lot of times just this feels good in the moment. As the author said of this article, look, there's certainly a high to buying a new phone. Let's not get that wrong. It's great. You get a new phone, new piece of technology, but there's a diminishing return. Eventually, that high wears off. And then very soon, especially with technology, you don't even have the nicest thing anymore. So that's gone. So we're trading experiences, we're trading memories, we're trading those times for just stuff or for comfort. Maybe instead of pushing ourselves, we're watching this season or the series The Office again for the 8th time, or this show or that. Nothing wrong with it, but maybe we could prioritize something different. Maybe the challenge is reading a couple books in a certain amount of time, and we've never done that. And that's an experience. Now, not everything has to be travel and those great times. Sometimes that experience is important. It drives us. But I certainly think at the very least, we should be prioritizing our experiences, prioritizing making memories, and putting aside other things that would get in the way. That's my opinion. And I know in my short life, my 35 years here on earth, it has been incredible what I've gotten to do. As a matter of fact, going to South America will be the 6th continent that I've gone to. So many countries. And the stories that I have, the memories that I have, they'll never go away. And I'm looking forward to making more of them. And so I encourage you, man, what can you move out the way? What hindrance? What roadblock? What thing can you maybe cut back on to help prioritize experiences or memories in a different way? And I think you'd be surprised if you really sat down and made it a priority, made it almost a number one concern outside of the Lord and your family. You have some of those non-negotiables, but if you made it a primary sort of concern, I think you'd be surprised at what you'd be able to do, accomplish, experience in a lot of different ways. But really, we all only have so much time on this earth, right? The Lord has only given us a certain amount of time, so why would we not try to experience new things and make memories? And what Levi is saying is just as valuable to our lives as it is to organizations, in my opinion. Certainly for organizations, there's a monotony of work, and it's certainly better if you have or if you foster an environment where people feel like they're emotionally attached and they're making memories and they're experiencing new things. That's great. But even for our lives, you could look at it and think, what about your home? What about your family? Is it an environment where every now and then you're bringing your family to experience new things, make memories in some sort of way? Or does everyone just feel like they need to get the newest thing and yada, 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 or whatever that is, whatever that hobby maybe that you're doing that's not contributing to experiences and memories? Maybe you could put that aside and foster within your family that sort of priority and experience. So anyway, that's when I read the article, that's what I thought. And I think it's really important. We live in such a consumeristic culture, and I'm as guilty as anyone, really. But we have to be able to just set in our hearts, set in our souls, look, I'm going to make memories. I'm going to experience new things with those I love, or myself, and just try to push myself in different areas, in different ways to accomplish stuff. Whatever it is, man, if we do that, I think, Lord willing, we'll get to our old age, end of our lives, and we'll say, man, I didn't waste a lot of time on some of these other things other people did. Instead, I have so many great memories, so many incredible experiences that I could tell my kids and my grandkids and others all around me. So, and maybe, maybe you'll make people jealous and you'll just be better than them in that way. I'm just kidding. Completely joking at the end of this podcast. Everyone's offended that I just said that, and I understand. But I was just kidding. In all seriousness, though, I do think this is important. And I'm headed out and very soon to go make some more memories. So I hope you'll join me in doing that. Thanks again for taking the time to listen, however you're choosing to listen. And 3515, till next time, have a good one.